Today in Deep Dive, we're speaking to Faye James, journalist, model, and author, about her latest book, The Perimenopause Plan, published by New Holland, a stack of easy meal plans, 75 recipes, and tips to manage weight, energy, and peri symptoms. We are going to get stuck into this issue. So, Faye, welcome to So Many Receipts.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So, Faye, you were inspired to do this cookbook due to your own
Yeah.
experiences with perimenopause. Can you tell us more about that? What has perimenopause been like for you?
Yeah, look, it came on very slowly, but it started with intense irritability. And it was kind of like, I might hear my husband chewing too loudly or
Oh,
my son tapping his foot. And it was just like really intense mood swings.
mm,
Then it was like the creeping weight gain, and then itchy ears, and just feeling out of sorts and quite anxious as well.
yes.
And look, I'm just past 50, and I kind of knew that it was on its way. But
Hmm.
what I didn't realize when I first wrote the menopause diet is that perimenopause can happen to women 10 years before the menopause. So
Yes.
when we're going to perimenopause, we're having very similar symptoms to menopausal symptoms. So
Mm.
it can be quite a long road. And I really just, for me, I just kind of started going down this path because I was like, hey, as women, we need to discuss this. My mum never spoke about her symptoms.
No, my mind didn't either.
It was always like, oh, we're getting middle aged, we're getting old and frumpy. And it's like, oh my God, you completely swept it under the carpet as this, I feel like us, our peers, right, what we need to say is, hey, we're going through these really intense time, this transition,
Mm.
speak to our friends, our family, our kids about it, and just be really honest because I think as women, we tend to brush things under the carpet, right? We just kind of,
Yeah.
we go, I'm fine, everything's fine, but we're really not fine.
That's true. So, what is the perimenopause plan about, and how can food help with our perimenopausal symptoms?
Yeah, yeah. So with a lot of my books, it all centers around nutrition and that sort of that key message, which is food is medicine, and it really is. So within the book, we've got very simple meal plans. So there's 5 weeks of meal plans and shopping lists. So you just literally have your shopping list, you go shopping, you've got your meal plan planned for you, and away you go cooking the recipes. They're super easy as well. They're very accessible and not too kind of complicated. And that was really my key sort of takeaway that I wanted people to feel with my books and my recipes is that they're not too complicated. Like often with health,
Mm.
you've got like, please put in this Himalayan salt, which you have to source from Upper Hebrides,
Yes.
mined by trolls 5'4" it's got to be things that you can buy from the supermarket, from your Woolies, your Coles, your
Mm,
Aldis.
love that.
Yeah, it's just, and it's not too expensive. It's really important, in this day and age, that health is not expensive and that it's easy, accessible, and affordable. Yeah, so where did my train of thought go? Because
Well,
you have to bring me back in because I do tend to gas away.
no, no, not at all. So there are various ingredients in there that you've researched, obviously, which can be more
Yeah.
beneficial, I suppose, for some of the
Yes.
symptoms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's really about those lovely lean proteins and
Mm,
estrogen-rich foods like tofu, tempeh, edamame beans, flax seeds, lots of beans and pulses. Those
mm.
just the really tapping into those estrogen-rich foods and the high protein is really key. Getting enough protein is one of the other things that perimenopausal women need to be mindful of because as we age, we lose a percentage. I think it's up to 7%, which is quite a lot of muscle mass,
Mm.
right? So when we go into perimenopause, we need to ensure that we're getting at least 30 grams of protein each meal, depending on your weight and height. Um,
Yes.
and then also that, you combine that with strength training. So it's really, the whole book is kind of underpinned with those key messages.
I know because we're all obsessed with our carb heavy comfort foods, aren't we? Like lots of
Yeah.
pastas with virtually nothing on top, especially in winter.
I know. Yeah. I mean, like I've been doing these book launches, right, with a lovely author called Maxine Fawcett, and she's written a book called Everything is Perfect. And the reason why we teamed up is because her book is all about a woman going through middle age, and her main character, Cassie, turns to wine and food, and she eats, you know, she's miserable, she's putting on weight. So what she does is she has, in the evening, she drinks several glasses of wine, maybe a bottle, and then all the kids' food.
Right.
And this is kind of, you know, we have these really funny conversations as in that's what women, as women, we tend to do, right? And it's actually the opposite. What we need to do is really cut back on that alcohol, really look at our diet, and really look after ourselves. And it's the perfect time to really honor your body and your health, and start doing things for yourself.
Yeah, that is so true. So how can doing a 4-week plan help you regulate your body?
It's not just 4 weeks. I mean, I've given 4 weeks just because it's actually 5 weeks. It's a month, so it's between 4 and 5 weeks, right? But it's just that kind of reset. I would recommend it for the rest of your life. But, you know, to get you kick-started, a good sort of, you know, bite-sized chunk is a month, so you can really feel the benefits, because going on it for a couple of days is not going to really give you benefits, but a month you're going to really start to feel much better.
Right. Okay. So I did make the stovetop baked beans recipe on the weekend. It was delicious. And the carrot soup as well. Carrot soup's actually really good if you're feeling unwell too. I know that.
Yes.
So there are so many good recipes in this book. Do you have a favorite one yourself?
I love, just because I'm a sweet tooth, and I do love a good dessert. I do love the cottage cheese salted caramel ice cream, which is so easy. It's like cottage cheese, date, honey, and sea salt. And I love those super easy recipes where you've got 4 or 5 ingredients. You just whack it in the blender, smush it into the freezer, and it's just a delicious little treat. And it's high protein as well, and high calcium, which is another thing. You need high calcium foods.
Yes. So I've been seeing recipes for cottage cheese ice cream for a while, but to be honest, my blender has broken down, so I never have made it. But does it actually taste sort of like ice cream, or does it actually just taste like cottage cheese?
No, it actually
Some people are on the fence.
Yeah. Look, it does have that slight, you know, the flavour
The tang.
of labneh and green chocolate, that slight tang. So you do get that tang, but I love it. I just love that sort of. I mean, it's not as sweet as, you know, your vanilla ice cream from Bulla or what have you.
Yeah.
It is a nice treat, and that sort of the dates give that real nice caramel flavour.
Yeah.
Mixed with sea salt is just delicious.
Okay, you've inspired me. I'm gonna buy a new blender from Kmart, and I'm gonna try this on the weekend. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. So with perimenopause, what were your worst symptoms? Because I know you talked about sort of being tired and irritable, but for me, it was the hot flushes, and it still is the hot flushes at night. So I've been waking up maybe 6 or 7 times at night. I have to say it's more bearable in winter. In summer, when it's already hot, it is really awful, and I don't get much of a good night's sleep. Did you experience anything physically like that as well?
Yeah, my hot flushes haven't been that bad, but I have a real experience that 3 a.m. wake up where you're tossing and turning and you're struggling to sleep. So right now I have a very fixed sleep routine. So I stop eating around 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, and I won't eat again until say 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning. So that's that big 12-hour time for, and that allows your body to digest and really sleep on a nice rested stomach. No alcohol either in the evenings. Not if, say for example, you're going to bed at 10 p.m. So if you do have an alcoholic drink, if you're going out for a meal, what have you, to ensure that is 4 hours before you actually go to bed. So you're allowing your body to digest. And then having that lovely sleep routine where I have a hot bath, I put in magnesium salts, I put in some lavender, and then I get out, I drink my cup of herbal tea, and I just switch off. I'm trying to make sure there's not too much scrolling going on at night on Instagram. And
the doom scrolling, it can suck you in, right?
Yeah. And just taking some magnesium supplements as well. And then just, you know, tucking myself into bed and ensuring that I have a really good sleep routine. I still sometimes wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, but it's again trying to sort of find those mindfulness techniques as well. So, give yourself a bit of a yoga stretch, or just try and kind of do a little meditation really helps. But yes, I find that for me, it's really about reducing the alcohol and making sure that I'm not going to bed on a full stomach has been a massive game changer for me.
And what about cooling? Are there certain cooling
Yeah,
foods?
there are cooling foods.
Yeah.
What I love to reach for is just a cucumber or a celery and
Yep.
just snack on it. And you can maybe have it with a bit of hummus as well, to add some
Oh, yeah,
protein.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, or I like it with a bit of like soft goat's cheese. And it's hydrating, and it's fresh and it's cooling. And those are really good, like nice little kind of snacks you can have on hand just to give yourself that freshness and not
Yeah.
feel hot and bothered. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just going back to something that you mentioned at the top of the interview, the question about irritability. I think a lot of women, I think what's a bit confusing with perimenopause, people think, like I've thought this myself, am I irritable because of perimenopause? Am I just irritable because of me, because of life? Because of me and
Yeah.
I'm getting older. It's a bit hard with some peri symptoms to kind of
Yeah.
figure out if it's due to perimenopause or if it is just you.
Yeah, look, I would say it's due to perimenopause because as our
We'll
body,
blame, okay, I can blame it on perimenopause.
yeah, because
Okay.
as our body, our estrogen declines, right? Estrogen is your caring hormone, so it makes you warm and fuzzy and caring, and it's your nurturing hormone, right? So when your body starts declining estrogen, you actually start to feel a lot more kind of disconnected.
Yep.
You care less. And in a way, it's kind of good for us as women to care less because sometimes we care too much,
Yeah, good
and
point.
we're beating ourselves up because we care too much, and we don't. The difference between men and women often is that they quite happily enjoy having me time. They enjoy just kind of sitting on the sofa and just relaxing, and they can do that really well, right? Most women I know will struggle with that. They can't sit down. They feel like they have to, clean the kitchen. They have to, put on a load of washing. They have to
Yeah.
lunch boxes are ready. There's all this kind of chatter going off in their heads, and that's the caring side, right? So why we start to feel irritable and moody is because we're losing that, and we're also kind of, you know, transitioning to a different woman as well. And it's very similar to what happens when a girl goes into puberty, right? Because again, her hormones are changing and she's turning into quite a different person. And it's almost like we're going into reverse, right? We're sort of like we're losing that estrogen that we had before, and we're sort of, turning to different people, and it can be very frustrating. It can be confusing because we go, is it me or is it my hormones? A lot of the time, it is the hormones. But that is really our chance to go, okay, right, this is what I need to do is need to make sure my diet is really, good. I'm really nourishing myself in the right way. I'm really nourishing myself mentally as well. That means, just ensuring that I'm being positive and kind to myself,
Yeah.
and that I'm really setting time aside for a good workout routine, a good sleep routine, all those things that we often forget when we're mothers, right? When we're running around after all our kids and our husband, what have you, and our diet goes into disarray, our fitness routine goes into disarray. This is our time to go, stop, guys, I'm not your slave. I need my time. My time to do my fitness, to have a great eating plan, to have a great sleep routine. Otherwise, I'm going to be a really, really annoyed, irritable, moody mum or woman, what
A
have you.
moody cow.
Yeah, moody cow, yeah, without sort of saying it. Yeah, being
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's kind of the reason why I wrote the book is to give women tools and tips and tricks, but also the 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 kind of sounding, the kind of the place and time to kind of say to family and friends, I am going through this and this is difficult, and not feel embarrassed about it. Because a lot of women have come to me and said, God, you're brave calling your book the menopause diet or the perimenopause plan. It's not really a word that we should be talking about. And I'm like, hang on a moment. Yes, it is a word we should be talking
Yes, of course, of course. That was actually one of my points because, we're only just now starting to see more open discussion, I feel, about
about.
perimenopause in the
Yeah.
media and on people's social media pages in general. I mean, why do you think it has been such a taboo subject?
Look, I think it's that, you know, women are too frequently saying that everything's fine when it's not, and they're not admitting they want to soldier on,
Mm,
and they want to sort of be okay and be there for their kids and husbands and friends and family, what have you. And I think it was just embarrassing. It was always kind of the change, and it was shoved under the carpet. Let's not talk about the change.
mm,
Going through the change.
yes.
And it should be, yes, I'm going through the change, and yes, it's a hard time, and yes, I need time for myself, and yes, I need to put myself first. And I'm so glad that the likes of Hellberry, Naomi Watts, Oprah is now on board as well. More and more women are coming forward in the celebrity field and talking about menopause, and all of a sudden it's a subject that everyone wants to talk about. But it's long overdue.
Oh, of course. What one of our big bugbears is that we talk about reality TV shows on this podcast. And so we follow all of the Real Housewives shows. So the women on those shows are all middle aged. They're all late 40s onwards, 40s and 50s. All the viewers are the same age. Many of them are going through perimenopause symptoms, but they just don't talk about it on camera. However, they then go offline and do interviews with journalists about it for a magazine or something, and they're happy to talk about it. It's actually been quite frustrating to not see this play out on screens anywhere. Going to lunches, if you feel like you're going to fall into your soup because you're so tired, why not say it? It's just never ever spoken about. Do you
Yes.
think we would benefit then more if we saw more of this stuff on screens?
Yeah. Yes, and Naomi Watts is actually really good. If you follow her on Instagram, she talks
Mhm.
about it all the time, and she's really
Yeah.
vocal about it, and I think that's fantastic. And I think it needs to be the norm that that it's perfectly okay to talk about,
Yes.
and it's not something that we shove under the carpet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a TikTok or something about this,
Yeah.
rallying out the call because I do think it's worth, we could get so much material out of it. It'd be really interesting to see people discuss these things.
Yes.
Just back to the issue of fatigue. So
Yeah.
obviously there are certain foods we can take to improve our energy levels, like more protein, exactly, etc. Sorry, but you also give some stress tips and exercise tips in the book, which can also help with that. Correct?
100%. So I always start my day with either strength training class or a light jog or Pilates. Find time for yourself to re-energize, and that's with exercise. And also, find time to make sure you've got a sleep routine. Find time to make sure you have some kind of form of mindfulness. That could be journaling, it could be yoga.
Mm.
I find, for me, it's a light jog because for some reason my brain just switches off when I jog.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I go into this sort of meditation state. But find your meditation state where you can really switch off. And that will help energize you, because I think the problem is that, when we're going through perimenopause as well, we've got a lot of stress going through our body. We've got a lot of cortisol, which is making us super tired and super anxious, because we're not sleeping, etc. So it's about kind of really reining that in and finding outlets such as exercise,
Yeah.
sleep routines, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, perimenopause is a very confronting time for women. Because I also think, I was thinking about this, it kind of almost signifies perhaps the official beginning of I'm becoming old. So we've been talking lately about, and just like that, the new Sex and the City reboot. And, all of the women on that show are in their 50s and 60s. And actually, some of the storylines in the new season are a little bit like, oh, life's a bit of a drag. I'm kind of getting old. I'm old. Are there any positives to perimenopause and menopause? Do you think that it's worth to point out?
Yes. And I really think it's a positive in that we're finding our boundaries, right? Finding our voice to say no. No, I'm not going to run you to the shops because I need time to go to my yoga class, or I need time to prep my healthy dinner, or I need time to have a massage. I need time for me. No, I'm not going to clean the kitchen. The husband can do it instead because I need time for me. And I think as women, we struggle with finding boundaries. We struggle with just kind of making sure that we put ourselves first. And it's really a time where we start to have a voice and say, it's time to put myself first. It's time to just honor myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main message I want women to really understand, is that it's really transitioning into a kind of new person, and that is a person who really has firm boundaries and that isn't just running around ragged for everyone else, because I feel that that's what women do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to kind of look at it more in a big picture sort of sense, rather than just like, oh, I've got all these symptoms kind of a sense. I mean, I just know for me, the fact that I get less and less and less periods, virtually none almost now, that's great. I was always someone that just I actually was very lucky with periods. I never got any pain or etc. that some women get. But you get sick of seeing them and dealing with them all the time, and that's actually been great that they're just now, fading into the sunset.
Yeah,
I've really
yeah,
enjoyed them fading
yeah,
away.
yeah,
Things like that. And I have enjoyed, as you say, kind of feeling like I'm giving less and less of a crap about
yeah.
things and putting myself more. And one thing I have been trying to do is taking time out for myself to do those things, but also to not feel guilty about it.
Yes,
Because a
yes,
lot of the time, I don't
yes.
mind taking time out for myself, but then I feel guilty about it afterwards. And so it kind of ruins my whole experience.
Does. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that women feel constantly guilty about taking time out for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a time that not to feel guilty. It's actually to say, hey, look, if I don't take time out for myself, I'm not going to be able to manage these symptoms, and they're going to spiral out of control. And I'm going to really, really struggle. So everyone around me needs to start supporting this and supporting me as a woman.
Yeah. And I think it would be great talking about how it should be more spoken about that, people in the work, people in workplaces and etc. kind of get on board with this time, because it's all very well to say, well, this is what I'm doing for me, but then often you've got bosses and deadlines who aren't very supportive of anything that you're going through, and you also don't really want to say to someone, I've got perimenopause and that's the reason why I missed this deadline or whatever. But I just think it's just good to be more mainstream because we can be more aware of these things, right?
Oh, of course, which is my next challenge. I'd really, really love to talk to a lot more HR departments about, you know, giving
That
them
is such a
all
good idea.
tips and tricks, and also allowing women to take menopause or perimenopause leave. Like we have sick
Yes.
mental health leave. It's a really hard time for a lot of women, and all of a sudden the brain fog is really intense, and they're not as snappy and smart and quick thinking as their 30 something peers, and they struggle with that, and and they lose confidence, and it's just really hard. And I think that there needs to be a recognition in the corporate world that women go through this, and that there is that time where everyone needs to be mindful,
Yeah.
bosses, the peers, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. And just one last question, Faye, because we often say this to people on our podcast if they have a media background. So you are a journalist and you've
Yeah.
worked for a lot of really well-known websites and magazines. I mean, is this doing cookbooks, is this part of almost like a reinvention, or is it something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, so I've got my love of cooking from my grandparents. So they're Chinese, and they came to the UK in the 1930s, and they actually worked in politics, but they worked for the Kuomintangs. This was the pre-communist government, and when the communist government took over, they were thrown out, obviously, and they were not allowed back to China. So they were stuck in the UK. And what did? They opened up one of the first Chinese restaurants in Leicester Square.
Oh, okay.
And they absolutely adored cooking. It was all about, these weekends where we'd sit and graze and eat all day, and it was just amazing. And I just got this obsession with food from a very young age, and I had my own cake business, and I called it Faye's Fancies, and I charged
Oh,
all my parents' friends money to make them special cakes, and I do like fancy, like different types of novelty cakes, and that kind of set off. And I always kind of dreamed of just, I loved the thought of people coming together and food being part of people coming together and talking and socializing. And I think cookbooks and healthy food is kind of my way of bringing everyone together and socializing and talking about important subjects, but health. And why it kind of led into the health arena was because my mum had cancer when she was 40, cancer of the colon, and they thought she was going to die. And she was incredible. She's still alive today, and she basically ate her way to health.
oh, okay.
She started to really talk to me about how it's so important to understand how food is medicine. So while I was writing, busy being a journalist, I kind of furrowed away in the background and sort of had this sidekick. It was my side hustle, really, where I'd cook in the kitchen and make recipes and have fun. And I think someone just said to me one day, "You should really do a cookbook." So I went, "All right, why not?" and now I'm actually working on my fourth and fifth cookbooks. I've got two coming out at the end of the year. So yeah.
Well, that is amazing considering you're not a trained chef or
Yeah.
you're a home cook and you've managed to make that dream come true as part
Yeah.
of being a journalist and adjunct to your career. We love hearing stories like that of people who are our age and doing things out of the box like we are with our podcast.
Yeah.
So it's been
Yeah.
lovely
Yeah.
hearing about that. So it has been amazing chatting to you, Faye, about the
So much.
perimenopause plan. Thank you for coming on So Many Receipts.
Thank you so much for having me.
We could have talked all day about
Could
Peri
have
and
talked
every
today.
life and all that. And
Yeah.
please check out Faye's fab new cookbook, The Perimenopause Plan, which is out now through New Holland.
Thanks.